Hey gang, thank you for tuning in to Texas Lobsters React. Today we're going to visit a channel called Ready for History. That's RHETTY for history. Everyday items that are disappearing. So without any further ado, let's get on into it.
As we grow older, things definitely change. Some of the things are for the better while other things don't appear to be. When we look back and remember some of the items we once used, we can really tell how far we've actually come. In this video, we will have a look back at some of those items, and you can be the judge. Over the years, shoes have become more and more advanced. We now have specific shoes for specific activities. However, the shoe fitting side of things has also changed. Between the 1920s and 1970s, it was pretty common to see a fluoroscope or an X-ray shoe fitter being used in shoe stores. These machines were primarily used on children to make sure that they had the right size for their kids.
Wow.
Basically, the customer would place their feet inside the machine and there were viewing portholes on the top and the sides. This would enable the salesman and the parent to see the X-ray view of the feet and the stitching of the shoe to make sure there was enough room. This device became very beneficial to parents who had growing children. By the 1970s, much of the United States had banned the usage of fluoroscopes over the growing concern of radiation exposure.
I can understand.
Just think about how many pairs of shoes a kid would have to try on before finding the right ones. Multiply that by every year of growing and it became a real concern for many people. The shoe salesman had an even higher risk of exposure since they dealt with it on a daily basis. If you're old enough, then you can certainly remember seeing cigarette vending machines in restaurants, bars, in the front of grocery stores, and other public.
When I was a kid in the 80s, these things were everywhere. My friends, I never smoked, but my friends would go in and just clean them things out, man. Oh, how times have changed.
Public places. These machines were quick and easy to operate. Just insert your coins, pull a lever, and out popped your favorite cigarettes.
That's funny.
But that was part of the problem. Kids could easily purchase their own cigarettes since no one was there to check their IDs. This became a growing concern and eventually cigarette vending machines started to disappear. If you see one of these machines today, then there are probably other items inside for purchase that aren't cigarettes. Newspaper vending machines were also another item that was very common to see on street corners, business sidewalks, and other public places. They offered an alternative way to get your newspaper rather than having it delivered or purchasing it from your local newsstand. These machines were stocked up daily so that they were always available. However, if you waited too late, all of the newspapers might have been gone. One of the problems with these machines was theft. Someone could pay for one paper and then take several or all of them. That, combined with the emergence of the internet, made these machines somewhat obsolete. People now have the option of getting their news right at their fingertips with a cell phone. Today, newspaper machines can be difficult to find, and when you do see them, they are often abandoned. Cell phones have now become a part of everyone's lives. Before they became so popular, it wasn't uncommon to see payphones on street corners and in front of businesses.
I remember that, man. When I was a kid, you always had to keep a couple quarters with you so you could call home in an emergency. And now, I mean, you know, you got your cell phone, but wow, brings back memories.
These big bulky items were easy to spot, especially if they had their own phone booth. If you grew up reading the Superman comics, then you quickly learned that he also needed phone booths. Payphones had a distinctive smell in the receiver from everyone's breath, and they also had a familiar sound when the coins were being inserted. Now it is becoming increasingly difficult to find a payphone or phone booth. When you do find one, they may not even work. This is proof that cell phones have changed us in more than one way. Phone books were once an essential item for every household and business. These were thick directories that held the names and numbers of people and businesses in a particular area. There were two parts to the phone book. The white pages primarily contain residential information, while the yellow pages contain commercial business information. Phone books proved to be extremely valuable resources in every city and town. You may still see these directories on occasion, but they aren't anywhere near as common as they used to be. The internet and online search engines have pretty well rendered them as an...
How many of you back in the day would go through these things to find people's numbers and call them and prank call them? That's a bad kid. I was a real bad kid.
Item of the past. Jukeboxes were once a common sight in diners, bars, and pizza joints. They were usually easy to spot with their colorful bright lights and loud music.
Yeah.
With just a drop of a coin, you could easily pick a song of your choosing from the wide variety in the catalog. It was also a great way to share your favorite music with others. The actual jukebox is a little more difficult to find today. Most people carry around their favorite music in their phones thanks to different streaming services. However, there is a more modern version of the jukebox which allows users to choose from digital catalogs and then request their favorite song. The way we pay for things has certainly changed. There was a time when cash was what most people used. Later on, checks and credit cards became available. Today, there are so many other methods of payment, whether it is a debit card, Apple Pay, Google Pay, an app, or various other methods. However, cash and coins are still available. We just don't use them as much as we used to.
That's true.
In the US, the cash register tills have always been built around certain currencies. For coins, it was always pennies, nickels, dimes, and quarters. For dollar bills, it was always ones, fives, tens, and 20s. Seeing a $50 or $100 bill was usually more common than seeing a $2 bill.
True.
But there are some currencies that we really no longer see in the US. If you're old enough, then you probably remember seeing 50-cent pieces, Eisenhower dollars, and Susan B. Anthony dollars.
I'm so old.
These coins are really not seen anymore. The US Mint has 50-cent pieces that are available mostly for collectors. They have also offered different dollar coins, but in today's day and age, it seems strange since most people use other methods of payment. In Canada, pennies have not been available for 10 years. In the future, we will all probably see less and less of different coins and bills, no matter which country we are in. The Rolodex was once an essential item for both businesses and homes. This organizational tool was used to keep track of names, phone numbers, and addresses for various contacts. It consisted of a series of cards that were organized in alphabetical order and could easily be flipped through. They were really handy to have around, but most people today store this kind of information in their cell phones and computers. TV guides were once an important item that could be found in practically every household. They were a weekly publication that provided a complete listing of everything that was airing on television for that week. If you wanted to know what was coming on and when, then this was an essential item to have. You certainly didn't want to miss anything coming on television.
I lived through that, and I was born at a time where we were transitioning from these ways to the new ways. So in the 80s, we saw a lot of different things, but the TV guide was absolutely imperative. Then cable started to come out, and we had cable, and it had its own menu, and that's when you started to see the TV guide kind of fade out, when the menu came on.
TV guide could be delivered to your home or picked up at your local newsstand. These are still available for purchase, but they are somewhat dated because of modern cable and streaming services. But for those of us who grew up using these, they will always hold a special place in our memories.
Mork and Mindy.
Long before copy machines became so prevalent, we used carbon copy paper. If you have ever used the CC option for an email, that's exactly what it stands for, carbon copy. Another item that used to be more prevalent were the credit card imprinters, which also utilize carbon copy paper. These contraptions would make a physical imprint of a credit card to be used for payment. First, you would place the card on the device, and then carbon copy paper would be placed over the top of it. At that point, a slide would be moved over the top of it all, applying pressure and making a copy for the customer and the retailer. This was really quite a slow process and it held up a lot of checkout lines. Once the digital payment system came in, it made these manual machines practically obsolete.
Nothing will make you feel older than seeing things that you used at one time that you no longer use. They're outdated. They're not useful anymore. Wow. I used that a long time ago.
Rarely will you ever see one today. Today, most of us use our personal phones for capturing special memories. But there was a time when film was the only method that we could use. Both still cameras and motion picture cameras utilize film. Taking a picture or recording an event took a lot more effort. First, you had to buy the equipment and then lug it around where you wanted to use it. You also had to purchase film and then load the film and take great care not to expose it to light, which would ruin it. Once it was loaded, you then had to concentrate on getting the perfect shot. There was no way to review what you had taken until you'd sent the film in to be developed.
I remember those.
It was certainly not a quick process, nor was it cheap. Not only that, you were much more limited in what you could capture on film because of the recording time or the number of exposures. Once you filmed it, there wasn't much editing that you could do with it. You were pretty well stuck with what you captured. Film is still available for purchase, but most people have opted for digital cameras and editing software. Way before word processors or computers came to the market, we had something else. Typewriters were an essential item for just about every office, and many people had them at home as well. Early models were manual mechanical devices that were operated by the user who would press the keys, which would then cause a mechanical arm to strike a ribbon, leaving an impression on paper. Later models on the market were electric, and they were a little bit easier to use. But both of them required users to be proficient at using them since formatting and correcting mistakes was very limited. Modern computers have definitely taken the place of typewriters, but there are still some people who prefer using the older method at home. All of those items were a huge part of our daily lives. Technology has propelled us forward, and time has taught us that today's items will one day be a thing of the past. Which of those items do you miss most? Let us know in the comments below. As always, thank you so much for watching.
Wow, that struck close to home. I used a lot of those. Anyway, thank you so much for joining me today, and I hope you enjoyed that video. Please put in the comments below what you'd like to see, what you thought of the video today, and ring the notification bell, like, share, and subscribe. Thank you so much. We'll see you soon. Bye.